Have you ever walked through a darkness so thick you couldn't even see your next step? Have you ever felt like everything was being stripped away, right before something important was supposed to happen? You lose your job, but the bills keep coming. You give everything to your family, and suddenly you're alone. You pray and pray, but the silence is deafening. You try, you fight, you stay faithful, but every door slams shut in your face. And in that moment, you begin to wonder, did I do something wrong? Has God forgotten me? Why is my life unraveling, right when I thought I was getting closer to breakthrough? If you've ever whispered those questions in the dark, this message is for you. Because what if I told you that what feels like a breakdown might actually be a setup? That what seems like silence from heaven could be the sound of holy hands reshaping your destiny? You see, before every resurrection, there is a cross. Before glory, there is Gethsemane. Before the crown, there is the grave. God often does his greatest work in the quiet, painful spaces, when everything familiar is taken from us, when nothing makes sense, when the light seems gone. But the truth is, sometimes God isn't punishing you. He's positioning you. Not rejecting you, but refining you. Because some blessings are too heavy to carry until your soul has been prepared. So if you feel like you're walking through fire, keep going. If everything is falling apart, don't give up. Because you may be standing on the edge of something sacred. Stay with us. Because in this video, we will walk together through the signs that often come right before God moves in a powerful way. And along the way, we'll remember, the darkest night always comes just before the dawn. If this message already feels like it's speaking to something deep inside you, don't scroll away. We created this channel, Verse and Wisdom, for moments just like this. So pause, take a breath, and walk with us, step by step, through what may be the very thing your soul has been waiting to hear. If you're ready, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because the journey we're about to take might just change everything. So what happens next? When the prayers seem unanswered and the heavens remain silent, often, God begins his work not with applause, but with pressure. Before the breakthrough comes the battle. Before the blessing comes the burden. Look at the life of Joseph. He had dreams of royalty, visions of greatness, but before the palace came the pit. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold like property, falsely accused, locked in a prison where even his kindness was forgotten. From the outside, nothing looked like a blessing, but from heaven's view, everything was preparation. Because God wasn't just building Joseph's future, he was building Joseph's spirit. And maybe he's doing the same in you. Sometimes the trials you're facing are not punishments, but prerequisites. The storm you're enduring is not to destroy you, but to strengthen you. James 2:3 says it best. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Perseverance doesn't fall from the sky. It's forged in fire. It's learned in waiting rooms, in lonely nights, in seasons where you feel invisible. But here's the thing. The enemy doesn't attack what isn't a threat. So if you've been under fire, maybe it's because something powerful is coming. The devil is always loudest right before he's defeated. And sometimes your struggle is the sound of hell trembling, because it knows what heaven is about to release. So if you're in a fight right now, hold the line. If everything around you is shaking, don't let go of your faith. Because the shaking might be the sign that the foundation under you isn't crumbling. It's being rebuilt. God doesn't waste pain, not yours, not anyone's. He takes what hurts and turns it into holy ground. Just like Joseph's chains became his crown, your midnight may just be the birthing place of your morning. So before you curse the chaos, pause. What if the fire is refining you? What if the delay is delivering you? What if this exact moment, this pain, is part of the path? Let your tears fall if they must. But never forget, God is closest when you feel the most crushed. He is not far. He is forming something. Even if your world looks nothing like a blessing, it doesn't mean He's not blessing you. It just means the story isn't finished yet. Sometimes before God brings you into something greater, He takes people out of your life. And it hurts. It confuses. It feels like rejection, but it's actually protection. There are seasons where God will strip you of familiar voices, comfort zones, even long-standing relationships. Not because you are unworthy, but because your next chapter requires a different circle. Look at Abraham. Before he could become the father of nations, God said, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household." Genesis 12:1. He had to go alone into the unknown. Why? Because some blessings can only be received in isolation. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into the promised land. Some are only assigned to your wilderness. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you're being faithful. Even Jesus before the cross withdrew to be alone. To pray, to prepare. He left the crowd, even left the disciples sleeping, and faced Gethsemane in solitude. Because some prayers must be whispered when no one else is watching. Some transformations require silence. So if you're finding yourself suddenly alone, don't panic. If friends stopped calling, doors closed, you feel unseen. It may be divine disconnection. God could be removing distractions to amplify His direction. He could be closing doors not to punish you, but to protect you from detours. It may be less about who left and more about where you're going. Remember this: the pruning always comes before the blooming. John 15:2 says, "He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be even more fruitful." Yes, it stings, but it strengthens. Yes, it hurts, but it heals. God is not a destroyer of relationships, but He is a refiner of purpose. And when people walk away, when positions are lost, when you feel like a shadow in your own story, it might just mean you're being hidden for a reason. Because before God showcases His vessels, He sanctifies them. Before He reveals, He refines. So don't rush back to what's familiar. Don't run to fill the silence with noise. What you call isolation might be incubation. The cocoon doesn't feel like flight, but it's where the wings form. Let the Holy Spirit whisper what others never could. Let the silence teach you what noise always covered. Let the loss reveal what truly matters. You are not being left behind. You are being lifted aside, to be lifted up. He is not breaking you. He is beckoning you to trust deeper, to stand firmer, to walk even when no one else walks with you. Because when the time comes, you won't just emerge stronger, you'll emerge chosen. And nothing can stop what God has set apart. Sometimes we think if God were really with us, we would feel strong, confident, certain. But more often, the holiest moments are the most humbling. When we don't feel brave, when we don't feel seen, when the silence stretches long and the path disappears beneath our feet, that's when real faith is born. Faith isn't forged in applause. It's formed in absence. When there's no confirmation, no audience, no visible answer, only a still small voice whispering, "Keep walking." This is the in-between season, when you've left where you were but haven't yet arrived where you're going. And that space is sacred. Moses knew it. He wandered 40 years, not because he was lost, but because the people weren't ready. David knew it. Anointed as king, but chased like a criminal. Even Jesus knew it. 40 days in the wilderness before a single miracle. And maybe you're in that space right now. The old things no longer fit, but the new hasn't fully arrived. You feel unanchored, like a tree half pulled from the soil. Nothing feels stable. Even prayer feels strange. But hear this, that unsettling is not failure. It's transition. That restlessness in your soul, that stirring in your spirit, it's not random. It's preparation. God is doing something beneath the surface, like roots stretching deeper before the tree grows taller, like soil breaking apart to make room for resurrection. So don't rush the process. Don't despise the stillness. Don't resist the tension. Because the discomfort is often the doorway. The silence is often the soil. And what feels like distance from God may actually be the place where He's doing His deepest work in you. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. You're not disqualified. You're being distinguished. And the very ache you're feeling right now is proof that heaven hasn't stopped moving. You just don't see it yet. As we enter the next part of our journey, we'll talk about that stirring inside, that quiet but unshakable sense that something is shifting. You may not know what's coming, but you know you're not who you were. And that's the beginning of something sacred. You wake up and something feels off. Not wrong, just different. The things that used to excite you now feel empty. The rhythms you once loved don't move you anymore, and you can't explain it. You're not sad, but you're not satisfied. You feel a stirring, a gentle unrest in your soul. This is one of the clearest signs that God is about to do something new. It's what we call holy restlessness. Not anxiety, not fear, but a quiet ache that tells you you're being called deeper. Isaiah 43:19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." It starts as a whisper, a hunch, a hunger you didn't ask for. You may find yourself praying more, longing for quiet, craving scripture, desiring change. Even if you don't know what that change is yet, this is God stirring your waters. And like the pool of Bethesda, when the water stirs, miracles are near. You're being drawn away from the surface and into the deep. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing solitude. You start wondering, what if there's more? And friend, there is. This spiritual shift often comes before the physical one. Before the doors open, before the answers arrive, before the breakthrough appears. God prepares your inner life. He rewrites your desires. He redirects your focus. He removes your false comforts. Because He knows a change of direction requires a change of appetite. The things that once fed you now leave you hungry. Not because they're bad, but because they're no longer yours. Like manna that ceased when Israel entered the promised land. What fed you in the wilderness won't sustain you in Canaan. So if you feel dry where you once felt full, don't despair. It means you're evolving. It means your spirit has outgrown its last assignment. Let that bigness rise. Let the dissatisfaction speak. You are not being ungrateful. You are being invited. You are not losing your place. You are being moved into your purpose. And sometimes, the signal that you're getting closer is the discomfort of your current comfort. Because calling is louder than comfort, and heaven always knocks before it enters. This is not confusion. This is clarity disguised as discontent. Stay with us, because in the next segment we'll explore what often happens right after this holy restlessness. Doors you didn't knock on start opening. People you never expected walk in. Opportunities that don't make sense begin to appear. And you'll realize what you thought was coincidence was actually providence. You didn't ask for it. You didn't plan it. You weren't even looking for it. But suddenly, a door opens. An opportunity you never imagined. A connection you didn't seek. A solution that comes just in time. This is no coincidence. This is providence. When God moves, He often does it in ways that interrupt your logic, but align perfectly with your need. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." He doesn't need your roadmap. He is the map. He doesn't need your timeline. He holds time. When you surrender, He surprises. And these surprises are sacred because they reveal just how intimately God knows you. He knows your worry. He knows your deadlines. He knows the things you didn't even say out loud. And He moves not according to your schedule, but His sovereignty. Ruth wasn't looking for Boaz. She was just gleaning in the field, being faithful. David wasn't applying for the throne. He was delivering lunch. Esther wasn't campaigning for royalty. She was chosen because her heart was ready for a moment she didn't see coming. God doesn't need perfect plans. He uses prepared hearts. So, if doors start opening, if favor starts following you, if things begin aligning with no human explanation, lean in, listen closely. This is what grace looks like when it walks into a room. You don't have to force it. When it's God, it flows. You don't have to manipulate it. When it's Him, He makes a way. This doesn't mean everything will be easy, but it will be evident. You'll sense a peace, a clarity, a confirmation. It's like walking into a space that already had your name on it. A job, a relationship, a divine moment of timing. And when it comes, you'll realize everything you lost was making space for everything He was about to bring. So don't panic if your plans fall apart. Don't mourn doors that closed. God knows how to bring you through the side gate if the front one won't open. He doesn't need permission to bless you. He just needs your position. Stay faithful. Stay expectant, because what's coming next may not be what you planned, but it will be exactly what you need. And it might already be on its way. You can't see the path anymore. You can't feel your footing. Everything is dim, and the light that once guided you has vanished. But strangely, you don't feel abandoned, only suspended. This is what we call divine darkness, not the darkness of sin, but the darkness of mystery, the kind that envelops when God covers you, so He can complete something in secret. It's like when Jesus spit into the dirt made mud and rubbed it over a blind man's eyes. He was healing him, but the man had to walk still blind to the pool of Siloam before he could see. Sometimes God covers you before He reveals you. Sometimes He clouds your vision, so you'll lean entirely on His voice. This darkness isn't punishment, it's precision. You're not lost. You're being led differently. Ask Jonah. He ran from God, but it was inside the belly of a fish, cold blind swallowed whole, that he finally surrendered. And that dark place became the turning point. Because grace sometimes shows up not in the sunlight, but in the shadows. And if you're in that place now, that in-between where nothing makes sense, pause for a moment, because you are not alone. In fact, you are not the only one watching this, feeling that exact same weight. There are thousands right now hearing these same words, wondering if God is doing something hidden, something holy, in their darkness too. If that's you, we invite you to pause this moment and comment below. I'm in the dark, but I'm not afraid. Let it be your declaration. Let it be your courage. And if this message is helping you, share it with someone who might need light in their own midnight hour. This is more than content. This is communion. You're not just watching a video. You're walking a sacred path with countless others, each one carrying their own silence, their own shadows. And just like the man born blind, just like Jonah in the deep, just like Joseph in the prison, God is working in you before He works through you. This darkness is not the end. It's the envelope. And when He opens it, what emerges will not be what went in. You will not exit this place the same person. You will come out wiser, humbler, stronger, refined. Because some callings require caves. Some anointings begin in ashes. Some of God's greatest works are done in the dark. You've prayed, you've waited, you've stayed faithful. But heaven is quiet. No confirmations, no signs, no voice, just silence. It's the kind that settles in slowly, not dramatic, just deafening. And maybe you're wondering, did I do something wrong? Is God ignoring me? Why does He feel so far when I need Him most? But here's a holy truth you may not have heard before. God's silence is not His absence. In fact, some of the greatest miracles are born in the hush. When Jesus stood before Pilate, He didn't answer. When Lazarus died, Jesus waited. When Job cried out, God took his time. Not because he didn't care, but because he was weaving something too deep for surface words. God's silence is often the sound of heaven holding its breath. Not because it's indifferent, but because it's preparing for something sacred. Isaiah 30:15 says, In quietness and trust is your strength. There is a strength that doesn't shout, a trust that doesn't tremble, and a faith that doesn't need noise to stay rooted. Think about seeds. Before they break through the soil, they sit, buried, still, unseen. But every second underground is sacred, because roots are forming before fruit appears. And in your silence, your roots are reaching deeper. So if you're in a season where heaven seems still, take heart. You are not being ignored. You are being grounded. God often does his most precise work when no one is watching. And sometimes, he withdraws his voice, so you'll trust his heart. Faith doesn't mean feeling him. Faith means believing he's still there when you don't. The silence won't last forever. It never does. But when you emerge from it, you'll realize you weren't waiting alone. You were being written into something greater. So breathe, be still, stay faithful in the quiet. Because silence is not the absence of story. It's the shaping of a deeper one. Now, as we move into the final part of our journey, we'll look back and see how all these signs, the fire, the stripping, the shift, the silence, were not random at all. They were whispers, they were warnings, they were preparation. Because something holy is coming next, and you're almost there. So now, take a breath. You've walked through fire. You've stood in silence. You've waited in the shadows. And yet, here you are, still standing, still hoping, still listening. That alone is a miracle. Because every trial, every dark season, every aching silence was not wasted. It was sacred ground. You may not have realized it at the time, but through it all, God was closer than you knew. He wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. He wasn't absent. He was arranging everything. The closed doors, the unanswered prayers, the holy restlessness, even the darkness. All of it was pointing to one truth. You're on the edge of something sacred. And when you look back someday, you'll say, I didn't understand it then, but he was guiding me the whole way. Because that's who he is. A God who speaks in silence. A shepherd who leads through shadows. A father who loves through fire. So don't be afraid anymore. The darkness is lifting. The silence is breaking. The breakthrough is near. And now, before this moment ends, let me speak something over your heart. If you are tired, may you find strength in stillness. If you are waiting, may you feel peace in the pause. If you are hurting, may healing begin in places you didn't even know were broken. And if you are hopeful, may that hope burn brighter than the fear ever did. Because you, dear friend, have not been forgotten. You are being formed by the hands of heaven. And what's ahead is worth everything it took to get here. Thank you, from the bottom of our hearts, for walking this path with us. If this message touched you, if even one moment felt like it was meant for you, we ask just one thing. Let it keep flowing. Comment below. Share this video with someone you love. Someone who might be walking through their own silence, their own shadow. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Not because we want numbers, but because we believe in the power of these words to meet people right where they are. This is Verse and Wisdom, where scripture meets the soul and stories become sacred again. We'll see you in the next video. But until then, stay rooted, stay listening, stay faithful, even when it's quiet. Because the quiet is holy too.